It's Georgia, so we know what's expected. And the Bulldogs are getting back to practice here in about a week. We got Anthony Dasher on the line from UGA Sports on Rivals to help us break down the Dogs on offense. Anthony, appreciate you stopping by as always. And
Sure,
of
my
course,
pleasure.
conversation is going to start with Carson Beck.
Hmm.
Had a big year with almost 4,000 yards passing, 72% completion percentage, which you're not going to find too many guys around that are going to be more accurate than that. Any particular part of his game that could possibly get better? Of course, there's always room for
Yeah,
improvement, but realistically,
yeah. I think the deep throws is probably something he wants to become a little more efficient with. I mean, not that he did not hit them last year, but probably not quite at the rate that he had. Maybe even some fans had kind of hoped to see. But yeah, again, that's kind of nitpicking right now when you look at the kind of year he had. You mentioned the 72% completion rate, and that was a school record. Beat the one that Stetson just set the year before that. So yeah, Carson had a great season. But yeah, if you ask him, he'll say he can work on everything. But if I had to pick one thing, it would be the deep throws.
Anthony, the way uh, college football moves these days, it seems like a guy like Gunnar Stockton has been in the program for forever, but
Mm-hmm.
that's not necessarily the case. But he certainly had a big profile coming out of high school himself.
Yep.
So, where do you think his situation lies and really the quarterback battle behind Carson Beck?
Well, he's the number two guy right now. He came in played the entire second half of the Orange Bowl against Florida State, and handled himself very well. Was very impressive. So they feel very good about where Gunner is at right now. He ran the scout team in his first year with the program, did an excellent job, and last year he was pretty much sharing the number two role with Brock Vandegrift, who has since moved on to Kentucky. It's expected to be the Wildcat starting quarterback this year. So Gunner's going to have his chances. I mean, I'm sure there'll be some games we have an opportunity to go in, and when he does, I expect him to perform pretty well.
Now, looking at running back, uh, Dejon Edwards gone, Kendall Milton gone,
Mhm.
correct?
Yep, that's right.
Those two guys gone. The big addition, of course, that caught everyone's eye across the SEC was Trevor Etienne coming in from Florida. Since you've had a look at him both when he was with the Gators, of course, as the opponent, but now getting to scout him a little bit more since he's jumped on board. What do you think he will add to the offense?
He'll bring a lot. I mean, he's got a chance now to be the guy. That's one of the main reasons he left, Florida, to kind of get that chance and a chance to compete for a national championship. And I expect you'll see Trevor play a huge role. I mean, maybe one of the bigger transfer pickups in the entire country before all is said and done. I mean, I fully expect he'll rush around 1,000 yards, probably score 10, 12, 13 touchdowns, and do an excellent job catching the ball out of the backfield, which is always been a Bulldog strength since Kirby Smart took over. So yeah, Trevor Etienne is a huge addition, but they do have some other good backs coming back too. I mean, Robert Robinson had a good Orange Bowl. Andrew Paul. Still don't know when Branson Robinson is going to be back yet. Had the ruptured patella tendon that cost him all of last year. I'm not sure he's going to be quite ready for fall camp, and it's still a little bit unclear about exactly when he'll be ready. But getting Trevor in was just a huge pickup for Georgia.
We're breaking down the Dogs, looking at the offense here with Anthony Dasher. You can catch his work on UGAsports.com. That's the Rivals platform for Georgia athletics. And let's look at the wide receivers. Of course, we put them together with the tight ends and Oscar Delp filling big shoes. But of course, he was a big part of the offense.
Mm-hmm.
24 balls last year. But Brock Bowers is Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of start there, even though we would normally go with wide receivers first. Brock Bowers is Superman.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be replaced, but Oscar Delp is no slouch.
No, he's not. I mean, he's a very good tight end. I think he got overlooked, a lot. Of course, it's easy to do when you got Brock as the main guy doing all the things that he did. But Georgia also added a transfer from Stanford. I mean, Benjamin Urasek had some very good numbers for Stanford, last year, and they think he's going to come in and really complement what Oscar does. And then they've also got Lawson Lucky. Had a very good freshman year after he came back from his foot injury, and so it's a has a chance to be a pretty good tight end group. Of course, no Brock Bowers. You can't ever say it's going to be just as good as last year, but still they got some talented players.
Yeah, Urasek had some injury issues last year, only played in
Mm-hmm.
6 games, but
Yep.
the year before, 49 catches and 43 the year before. So he's caught a lot of balls in college football, 108 there
Mm-hmm.
in the Pac 12. Looking at the rest of the wide receiver unit, of course, Dominic Levet was the big addition last year, and he pulled through as most expected him to be, one of the best
Mm-hmm.
wide receivers in the SEC. Rod Thomas came in from Mississippi State, where he had a big reputation and was their top guy. And he didn't necessarily have a huge year, but certainly contributed. So, where do we stand on the wide receiver core?
That's where they made some additions. Added 3 transfers. Um, Humphreys from Vanderbilt came over. Real speed guy came in and had an excellent first year for the Commodores. Then you look at Kobe Young came over from Miami. Kobe caught like 60 passes in 2 years for almost 1,000 yards. 6'5", 215 pounds. Has a chance to I think make a big impression. And then Georgia also went out and got Michael Jackson III from Southern Cal. A versatile receiver, can play all 3 wide receiver positions. So you add those 3 guys to you mentioned, Donald Lover, Rod Thomas, Dylan Bell, who had a very good year last year, kind of doubling as a running back, wide receiver. Made some incredible catches in the Orange Bowl, against Florida State. But they've also got a couple of new kids, too. Sokovia White, Nitro Tuggle, early enrollee wide receivers who they're very, very high on. So, while they also lost some key guys like Lad McConkey and Marcus Roseby Saint, they feel pretty good about, again, the addition of London Humphreys and some of these other guys they brought in that the wide receivers will be okay next year.
You just named like 10 guys. Now,
Yeah.
about 5 of those guys are incoming freshmen that
Yeah.
who knows if they'll be able to make an impact. There's not going to be any pressure necessarily to do so this year, but about 5 or 6 guys, including the transfers coming in, have big resumes.
Yeah.
Is there a particular pecking order that you would expect out of those 5 or 6?
I still think like Dom Lovett will be the main guy in slot. And I forgot to mention Arian Smith. He's back for one more year too, so that's another name you can kind of throw in that mix. But as far as a pecking order, that's something that's going to be worked out in spring practice. I mean, Rod Thomas had a foot injury last year that really kind of curtailed the end of his season. Also, I think we saw a lot more production, from him and Dylan Bell. I think it has a chance to take yet another step forward, this year. That it might be tough for somebody to ultimately overtake him for a starting job. But I do like the depth. They brought in some key guys. This is the most transfer that Georgia has brought in since Kirby Smart has been the head coach. And each one of these guys are guys they believe that can make some pretty solid contributions this fall.
It's easy to pin the national championships on the defense, of course. That's what people think of first and foremost. And then, of course, Stetson Bennett. And then you look at the skill position players. But the offensive line, I thought, was the best in the business when they were winning those national championships. Maybe it took a bit of a step back, but still had plenty of talent last year. Cedric Van Pran, Marius Mims, they move on to the NFL. A couple other guys, though, could have made the NFL decision, but they decided to come back. Tate Ratledge, Xavier Truss. Just your thoughts about the offensive line and how they may line up in their 5 spots up front.
Yeah, again, I think they've got a chance to be, very, very good. I mean, Ernest Green started at left tackle last year as a redshirt freshman and held him, was pretty good for the entire year. You mentioned, losing Cedric Van Pran is going to be a big loss. 3-year starter, one of the best leaders on the team. But Georgia has a guy who's they've been grooming for that position. Who Jared Wilson is another big guy, 6'4", 320 pounds, is expected to step right in at center. They have extreme confidence in him. The 2 guards are back. Micah Marzi, and mentioned Tate Ratledge earlier. Xavier Truss can play inside. He may wind up moving out to right tackle to replace Amarius Mims, but Georgia also is very, very high. On the Monroe Freeling, who's a true freshman last year, saw some time at both tackle spots and played a lot toward the end of the season. So they've got probably those guys. Dylan Fairchild's another guy at guard they could slide in. So right now they've got 8 or 9 guys I think they feel very confident in. And they signed, again, a huge freshman class with 5 incoming freshmen. I think all those guys are early enrollees will get their first looks as well. So Georgia will not be hurting the offensive line, I don't believe.
Anthony, do we expect the Georgia offense to look any different than it has? Has there been any talk about just any type of scheme adjustments that could make it look a little bit different?
I don't think so. I think what you saw, Coach Bobo do last year and what Coach Monk did, 3 years before that's going to probably stay status quo. I mean, some of the names may change, but what Georgia does offensively is going to be the same thing we've seen, I think, over the last 3 years. And like I said, I think they've addressed that. Losing Ladd McConkey is going to hurt, I think, on some of the, as far as explosive plays go. But again, Georgia brought in some other talented guys. London Humphreys, who I've talked about a couple of times already, is a guy they think they can really use him to stretch the field. And some of these freshmen has a tremendous speed as well. Anthony Evans III is another guy I forgot to mention. That's like I said, Georgia has just depth. Players come from every which direction. Sometimes I can't keep up with them myself. So, but Georgia's going to be fine as far as the talent goes, and I don't expect them to change much at all as far as what they're trying to do.
Well, with a lot of those new players, I think here in about 6 weeks after we take in the spring game and, of course, all the spring sessions and the opportunities that you get out there and to see the guys work, I'll be asking you out of these new players, the incoming players, and then especially the 2024 class, who's got a chance to break out. But we'll let you take in spring practice first.
Yeah.
So we appreciate Anthony stopping by. Anthony Dasher, UGAsports.com. It's right there on the banner. Anthony, have a great day. We appreciate you breaking things down for us.
My pleasure. Anytime.